last year, Ronald McDonald House Charities helped a record 4,452 families and provided 42,000 nights of accommodation for those with children in need of hospitalisation. They did not turn a single eligible family away over the course of 2023, keeping their promise they have maintained since first opening the doors 37 years ago. The service they provide allows parents and family members to focus on what matters the most in the toughest moments, their sick child. They provide accommodation, warm meals and close proximity to the hospital. But Ronald McDonald House Charities is at a crossroads and they may be forced to charge families of sick children who stay in their accommodation. The Chief Executive is Wayne Howett and he joins me now. Wayne, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Leah.
Wayne, what are the main reasons behind possibly having to charge families?
Look, I think it's the gap that's arisen certainly over the last year or so with regards to increased demand. Certainly the cost of providing the service has increased dramatically and revenue growth hasn't kept pace with that given the economic circumstances that most people are going through. So that gap widens and we have to look at how we do that. Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned, that there's more people possibly needing your help. Is the number of families relying on the group's has that grown in since the previous year?
Yeah, it has. It absolutely has. And it's a combination of things, right? So there's a centralisation of services more towards National Children's Hospital where the high-level paediatric care needs to be, and that's the right thing to do. What we're also seeing, though, is that there's an increasing number of situations that were previously palliative that are now being treated, so those tend to have longer-term treatment programs. We're also seeing a number of families, increasingly actually, families from local regions, particularly around Auckland, that struggle to survive in Auckland, just to get traffic, get in transportation to get across Auckland just to be at their child's appointment is increasing. So we are picking up that piece and looking after those families. So that increases the demand. And not like every other business and organisation throughout this country, we're seeing the cost of delivering that service increasing for lots of different reasons. And it's the gap between that and the pace of growth of revenue that's a difficult situation.
There's also, I could imagine, significant decline in donations. Nearly all charities would tell you, Wayne, they've noticed a drop in financial support because of the cost of living crisis that's hit everyone. How have your numbers been affected of people that support you on an annual basis?
So the actual number of people that support us has actually probably gone up. But what we're finding is the average donation is going down. And so, the rate of growth is just not keeping pace with the rate of what it costs to look after these families.
Can we talk a little bit about funding, Wayne? The government announced in April an $18 million boost to cover the cost of families needing to travel for specialist health treatment. And while this is great, you would like to see a funding model changed, correct?
No, look, I think the funding model in itself is actually the right model. I think there's some inequities in it. I think there's it needs to be reviewed. I think it also probably needs to be tied to some sort of cost index. That $18 million was a great first start. But I've been working with people inside the ministry and other NGOs on that for more than 12 years to actually get that changed. I believe that the people that are looking at it understand that we need to change that, and they're looking at how that model works. Great first step, but how do we do more?
Because I suppose what's really concerning if families fall outside the current guidelines regarding funding, say, to get to you and had to pay for accommodation. I mean, would there be families that just could not get the help they need for their child?
Without question. There's no question about that, right? So organisations like ours pick up that slack. And that's part of our mission, is being in that space to support those families. But I think there's an opportunity to go, well, what does the model look like? There's some pieces that need to be addressed, most definitely. And it's an equity piece, right? Let's make sure that everybody has got access to the funding that they need. And it might be different per person, but that's their personal circumstances. So let's look at how that might work so everybody has got access to the compassionate hospitality that we can provide for families right across the country.
And there's a gap there too, isn't there, Wayne, between what is and isn't funded? Some families might not even know what funding they qualify for.
Yeah, look, I think that's one of the biggest issues is actually knowing what you can and cannot access and where that might be. We have put in place what we call social navigators, whānau liaison people that actually can sit down and go, actually, what apart from the fact that you've got a really sick child in hospital, what are the other issues that we can support you with? Because we are seeing more and more complex families arriving at our door. And it's not just the stress of having a sick child, and believe me, that is stressful, but it's all the other social issues that are combined. So we're taking a proactive stance and saying, how can we connect people to the right social services to get them to understand what funding is available to them and how that might benefit them, especially in really testing, trying times.